To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Here age relives fond memories of the past.
That was just the start of Walt Disney's annual shareholder meeting today, with CEO Bob Iger also taking questions from investors after the presentation. In one response to a query about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Iger called the governor's policies, quote, anti-business. Now, shares of Disney not moving much on the event, but we want to dig in further on Iger's plan with Needham Company's senior media internet analyst, Laura Martin. Laura, always nice to see you. It was a bit of a surprise to see Iger come out swinging against the Florida governor. What's your reaction?
My reaction is I think Iger's 15-minute introductory speech was perfect. He's like, we're 100 years old. We've been at the top of our storytelling game for the last 100 years. As an aside, I would say a lot of that is thanks to him because he bought Marvel, he bought Star Wars, and he bought Pixar. Otherwise, Disney might not still be at the top of the storytelling game. And he just said he's going to add 17,000 jobs and spend $17 billion in Florida, which is new jobs. So I think politicians come and go. I think DeSantis is running for office against Trump that's his hidden agenda. And I think that Walt Disney Company will be in Florida for another 100 years. And DeSantis won't be.
But the thing is, DeSantis isn't running against Trump. He's not saying a word about Trump, even with an indictment looming. He's talking about people like Bob Iger and companies like Disney. That's actually who he's running against, this boogeyman of a woke agenda. Do you think this is just awakening a sleeping beast here?
No, I think it is all politics for him, for his hidden agenda. And I don't think politicians persist. But I think the Walt Disney Company will be here in 100 years. And sticking to the messaging of freedom of speech is important. The right to share, have different ideas is important in America. And we, the Walt Disney Company, have a different point of view that we have the right to espouse. I think all of that is good messaging.
Laura, you mentioned one of the other big headlines coming out of this investor day is a $17 billion investment in Walt Disney World over the next 10 years. From an investor standpoint, how big of a catalyst do you see an investment like that potentially being here for the stock?
You know, parks are at unbelievable margins. I've covered this company a long time. Parks are really the highest return on capital business right now. And what Disney does better than anybody is apply engineering to turn dreams into reality. It's like almost impossible what they do. So they have real competitive advantage here. They have real pricing power, and they are a differentiated voice. And I think Florida, like a shopping mall, the more things you put in Florida, the more likely you garner the next, family of four to fly there because they can fill more days. I think Disney's point of view is that people come for a week from all over the world. We only have 3 or 4 parks. Let's build out. And so therefore we benefit Universal Studios or we benefit other things in Orlando. They're like, no. Let's build the next 3 days so somebody can go to a Disney park every single day of the week and we don't have any value leakage to our competitors.
Of course, investors were hoping for some sort of update on Hulu. Will they buy that out? And or ESPN? We didn't get it. So your thoughts on what that means, and have any plans materialized over Hulu specifically and where they plan to go?
I think ESPN is the more interesting one myself, which is they're breaking it out now in their financials by the end of the year as a separate entity. I'm hoping they find an investor for ESPN, a minority investor, which brings them cash to pay down debt, but also doesn't affect their ability to control ESPN. And I think that would be a really robust auction. So sell 15 or 20% of ESPN to a third party. Hearst already owns a piece of it. And then on Hulu, my gut feel is they will own. I've never seen the Walt Disney Company sell an asset. So my guess is they're going to own it, but the put-call ratio makes it better negotiating strategy to tell Comcast, look, be careful what price you put because we might put it to you at that price. So I think they'd rather own it, but the put-call means that Comcast can buy it at whatever. It can also buy it at the price it puts forward. So, and if they can force Comcast to buy it, I think that'd be too bad for the Walt Disney Company, but I think money matters right now to this company.
Speaking of money mattering and potential M&A, you put out a note last week that got a lot of attention. Talk here about Apple potentially buying Disney and really the upside potential that you see for Apple if that deal were to ever happen. Is there any talk of this? What's the timeline of it? And why would that make sense in terms of Apple or for Disney?
Sure. So I think the key point is 100 years for Disney at the top of its game, almost no change in strategy or execution excellence. Apple has an iPhone that's 10 years old. So, and I think technology is not a moat, as evidenced by the fact that 11 years ago, Apple was 4% of the market. And as of the fourth quarter, it was 24% of the market. And what it did to achieve that is put people out of business. So what we've said is, Disney has a succession issue. We've been trying for 6 years to replace Bob Iger, who is fabulous, but he's 72. So if you can bring in Disney into Apple and keep all of its storytellers independent, but with a $90 billion a year free cash flow check coming from Apple, you elongate Apple's ability to survive because you just gave it a bigger competitive moat and longer engagement. You could make certain content exclusive. So you have to buy an iPhone to get to Moana or Lion King or, some Toy Story. That'd be cool for Apple. But the point is, I think it's better for Disney not to be independent. And it's always, my opinion, better for distribution to have proprietary content that it can give 5-day window to exclusivity, or certain content has exclusivity that makes the Apple iPhone, in this case, much more valuable, or the iOS ecosystem, if it had exclusive Disney. You can only get Mickey Mouse on iOS devices, would be amazing, I think, for Apple.
You mentioned Moana. I'm going to circle back on that in a moment. But first, you have a note out saying Google is worth more in pieces than together. You welcome regulators' attempts to break it up. The prevailing wisdom was breaking up Google would be very bad news for investors. Why would it not? And might they consider an Alibaba-like move?
Yeah, no, I think that Google, we put out a piece today saying they have a product problem, as evidenced by the fact that they and Meta together 5 years ago had 80% of the total full-time employees working on AI, but yet ChatGPT beat them to market. And when they tried to demo Baird, it was a poor substitute. So, and now ChatGPT, this upstart, is now threatening the core search business. So our point of view is this is a company that doesn't have a new product commercialization culture, therefore should be broken up so that the individual pieces like YouTube or like Android are forced to live by Wall Street mandates of running a real business, not just being subsidized by that fabulous search engine that has 80% margins.
Laura, how should we be looking at who's in charge? Because that's something that you brought up in your note. But taking a step back here, Sundar Pichai, obviously at the helm here of Alphabet. Is he the right person to be leading the company at this point?
I think Wall Street does not think so. I think that they are just far too, it's like the inmates are running the prison right now. They need a stronger leader that says, look, guys, we work for a business. And the business has to make money. And you employees who don't want us working with the Immigration Service and don't want to work us with the DOD, these are massive contracts that last for decades. And you can really add a lot of value to the U.S. government. Like, I object when they don't allow these employees stop Google from getting new business for the U.S. government. Like, I'm confused. So I think new business is good. I think Google's supposed to be running a business. And therefore, I think the inmates need to stop running the prison.
Interesting point. All right, you mentioned Moana. I promised I'd circle back. That was actually the lead of Disney's presentation today until the comments on DeSantis that they have a live action Moana coming out. The Rock had this very nice long presentation video. He's such a talented guy, which prompts me to ask you your favorite live action Disney film ever.
Lion King. Easy as pie.
Yeah. Really? I thought that was the worst. I am really.
What is your favorite?
Well, I would say Cruella, easy one, and Maleficent, definitely two. Those two, head and shoulders above the rest.
I like Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, you like Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, that was so good. The live action
that was solid.
awesome.
None of you saw Cruella? Or...
I haven't seen Cruella, no.
Oh my gosh, terrific
I might
movie.
be missing out.
And Maleficent was amazing.
Maleficent, I agree. It would have been my number 2, but I thought Lion King was so cutting edge at the time. And the music from Elton John, fantastic at music.
Interesting. All right, we'll have to debate this another time, Laura Martin. Always good to see you. Thanks so much.